Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to a brand new video and another F1 2020 game experiment. And today is a very popular experiment from F1 2019. How many times can we get fired in F1 career mode? On this game, it's a little bit different. The mechanics are different for, how we go about negotiating contracts, how we might get fired essentially from 2019 to 2020. So it's going to be interesting to see how that differs. On last year's game, you could technically be fired every 4 races because you renewed your contract every 4 races, which is a bit of a funny mechanic. Whereas on this year's game, it's more realistic. You only negotiate it 2 times a year, halfway through, and then at the end, if you do a full season, or just at the end of the season if you do a 10-race calendar. So we're kicking things off then, driving for Mercedes. We've got a full-length calendar for the first season at least, just to see how the mechanic might work. Could we get fired at the halfway point? If we can, obviously I want to be there to see it, and then we'll just see how many times we can get fired over and over again. At least that's what I hope will happen, because that's what happened, quite funny enough, in F1 2019, where we got fired, I think, 8 different times before we gave up, because it was just unlimited. But we had some very funny scenarios on last year's version where we actually got signed to better teams after getting fired from the lower team. So we'll see if it's a bit... So we'll see this time round in this year's game if it's as kind of broken and silly as that, or it might be more realistic. As I said, the contract system is a lot more realistic. So I have a hunch, unfortunately, it may be a bit more boring on this year's game, but let's see. So obviously we're at Mercedes, and the task at hand is to just drive as poorly as we can. So we're gonna get practice in FP1 Australia, just practice our racing line into turn 1, taking ourselves out there, making sure we get a nice DNF and get used to this cutscene of walking with a kind of helmet visor down in shame. You're gonna see that quite a fair few times in this video, because that's the name of the game. We have to drive as badly as we can, try and get our claim level as low as we can to get fired, and then we'll see where we go from there. I don't know what's going to happen if we arrive at contract negotiations multiple times with like 0 claim. Is there anywhere to go apart from staying at Williams? Is it, or the one of the lower teams? That was the question we asked last time, and funny enough we got signed to Ferrari one time, so I really want to see if we could do that again potentially. So we get going then with this plan. We have a fantastic lap 1 of this Reading Grand Prix. I think you'll agree. We couldn't have done any better there. I think we achieved everything we set out to achieve. Whether that was what the team wanted is besides the point. I achieved what I wanted to do, and to be fair, in this alternate universe, it means that Ferrari are looking pretty good. Leclerc wins the first race. Ferrari fans, soak it in. It's probably the only kind of joy you might get from watching a Ferrari team on your screen, virtual or not. We started off this career mode save at claim level 5, or just under 6 basically, so we've already gone down a little bit there, but we're still in 5, but I expect that to go down to 1. And as I said, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays into the contract negotiations. Whether that's a good indicator of whether we will be fired or not, I don't know, because obviously last year we didn't really have that claim level as an indicator. It was more just the reputation of the teams, but it kind of works in a very different way. But second race then, and another really strong effort. This time it's a real strong connection with the Ferrari there, Sebastian Vettel. Sorry, Seb, I know when it rains it really does pour for you, mate, but needs must. And this is actually the third race, actually, watching the animation of me retiring from Hanoi, so I'm not going to obviously bore you with everything, but we're getting through the grind of DNFing everywhere. It's a hard life.
Bad luck today. That must be incredibly disappointing. It's the start of the season. How do you think things are going to go for you?
You can never tell this early, Clay. You can never tell. 3 DNFs. Can we get the full 22? We're going to have to see, aren't we?
Didn't spend much time practicing. Are you saving your car for the main event?
There's no need to practice, when you're just so good at crashing the car out. There's no real need. If I did, I'll just waste the team's time repairing the car for it to be broken again on Sunday.
Appreciate your time.
Yeah, as do I, Claire, as do I. But we move forward then. We've jumped all the way to the French Grand Prix. We've been flawless in our efforts so far of DNFing. Here we're just going to take it easy. I thought about maybe trying to take turn 1, make a cheeky dot. Maybe we'll actually do this race properly on these 5 laps. Go down the inside. Oh, what a shame. Oh, that was, I tried the dive bomb. It didn't work out. I did a bit of a Vettel there from, 2018. Took out the Alpha and Racing Point as I did, and once again we come through. Oh, we've actually teleported there. That was actually the cutscene from Austria. So I don't know how that occurred, but we've got all the way to Austria then. But this is now the important part of the season. This is the first contract negotiation you get in the career mode, my team or normal career mode. We're down to a claim level 1, and here we go.
I told you, if you carried on as you were, and you didn't start putting in the kind of performances the team expected, you were going to lose your drive. Well, it's happened. As of today, you are no longer an employee of this organization. Lucky for you, one of us is competent. I found you an option elsewhere, and I suggest you take it if you want any hope of salvaging this so-called career of yours.
So there we have it, the first time we see Emma, our PR agent, in absolute anger and uproar. It is the same cutscene, unfortunately, as F1 2019 and 2018, I'm pretty sure, but a bit more jazzed up, maybe. But I'm hoping they change the cutscene maybe for the next generation of consoles, one would hope. But there we are then. We get fired, officially, and the game just gives us the Williams seat. As you would imagine, we've got a claim level 1, so makes sense. But we've been fired once, then halfway through this season. As I said, compared to last year, it was, round 4 we got fired, because that's how that system worked on F1 2019, whereas in this year it is a bit different. But now here's the real question. Now can I get fired again and start this stupid cycle of getting fired and fired and fired like we did on last year? Because last year, we had that, and to the point where we got fired from Williams, got up to Ferrari, got fired by them, back to Williams, and got fired by Williams again, and got back to Ferrari for a second time. This time, potentially I have 100, maybe not going to be as stupid and comical, but we're going to try our best. So here we are then in our new team Williams. This is still that season 1 part of the save here. So you see the hotel they're going to build in real life at Silverstone. They've got in the game. We're just going to try and park up there and use the special entrance. And there we are. We hit the special button there on the board, and that's why we parked up the car. We're going to get out as we are doing here. And we're going to walk straight into that new hotel they've built on the left-hand side. Just ignore the fact we teleport to the right. And as we go on through this season then, later on, 2/3 of the way through, Leclerc and Ferrari actually end up winning the championship. So these are live scenes you're watching here of something that's definitely not going to be happening at the real-life Italian Grand Prix at Monza coming up this race weekend. And actually, you know what? This scene was so alien-like and, just not meant to be in F1 2020 that my game broke. Literally, I'm not kidding. After I watched this cutscene, the game got stuck on this black loading screen, so I had to quit out the game. You're seeing here, I'm going back through the main menu and loading back up the game, because for some reason it just, I don't know, froze. It was just ironic that it happened straight after Ferrari won the championship. So we've not even got through one season yet, and the game is already breaking due to this experiment. It didn't break too much last year when we were getting fired constantly, but this time round, I don't know what it is. It just seems to not like us DNFing all the time, because it actually continued to break a little bit. And I'm not going to show you every time it froze, but basically as we went on through this experiment, went through the races and the next future seasons, it would occasionally freeze and I would have to back out the game completely. But we're now here at the end of this season, season 1 of this save and experiment. We've got less than acclaim level 1. Like, we're on level acclaim 1, but we've not filled up the level bar yet, and we're not just under level acclaim 2. But to my surprise, we don't actually get a fired cutscene. We don't get fired. We have the opportunity to renegotiate with another team or Williams. So I was kind of left here kind of stumped. Is any team going to take me? I tried my luck with Ferrari to try and see if the meme of signing for Ferrari after having a dismal season could continue on from last year's game. Doesn't happen. They decline us. Okay, we try with Haas. Could they sign us? No, we're apparently too bad for Haas, even. Renault, are they going to sign me potentially? No, we're not good enough for them. I was really left stumped to who we could go for. I didn't want to re-sign for Williams. We try McLaren. Could they be, finessed into signing us? No, we're going to try one last attempt here with AlphaTauri, then Alfa Romeo, and that will be it. AlphaTauri, no, come on, Alfa Romeo, could they sign us? And it looks like they will. I don't know why, but they will. So, there we are. We're sending the demands. We went for low risk, and we have signed for Alfa Romeos. But despite not getting a cutscene for being fired, I did get a cutscene at the end of the season then, once I actually signed with Alfa Romeo, from Emma, telling me how bad of a job I did, essentially.
I think seeing as it's the end of the season, now is a good time to talk about your less than ideal record this year. My job is to negotiate on your behalf, but you're not giving me much to work with here. Plus, this isn't exactly doing my career any good, so I need you to shape up, for both our sakes.
And I'm really sorry to Emma, but I cannot shape up whatsoever. I will be coming last and DNFing out of every single Grand Prix to come. And look at this. This was also really funny. Verstappen is my teammate. I was loading him through, and I had to take a second take here and just kind of double blink because I couldn't believe my eyes that Verstappen is my teammate. So, sorry for the kind of divergence away from the kind of subject of this video, because I just want to take you through and show you what a mental career mode save this is in this experiment save of ours. We've got Verstappen at Alfa Romeo, the likes of Sainz at Mercedes, Perez at McLaren, Ricciardo back to Red Bull, Gasly signed for Renault, so he's alongside his arch nemesis Ocon there. That would never happen in real life. Vettel has seemingly retired out of Formula 1 along with Kimi. Bottas is at Ferrari now to be the number 2 for Leclerc these days. De Vries up to Racing Point, Giovinazzi in the Racing Point car. It's all kind of mad. It's the second season only, and this has already occurred. So yeah, it's a bit of madness. Nothing like this has ever occurred in the My Team series, at least so far. But yeah, a bit of a mental driver transfer swap. But anyway, back to the point. We're going to continue on now, and for the first time as well, we're going to also hear from Carl, our engineer in the driver career mode.
It's going to be one heck of a season, I think. To be honest, I don't think we've done the best job maintaining our performance through this regulation change. So we're going to be playing a bit of catch-up this year. We're counting on you, but you've got the whole team behind you.
Oh, I really wish you didn't say that, mate. I really wish you didn't say you're all behind me and we're counting on me, because I'm just here for the vibes. I'm just going to be DNFing vibing. And along with those vibes are yet again another moment where the game broke. You can see here, I've loaded into a screen that's usually meant to be in the menu, obviously in the motorhome, when you're in the race weekend. But as you can clearly see, I'm trying to leave and it's not working out. You can maybe hear me in the background pressing B and it won't return me to anything. I click help, that doesn't help. So again, so early on in the experiment and save, the game is just breaking and trying to force me to stop playing, basically. I guess it just can't deal with me DNFing all the time. But we move on then into the British Grand Prix weekend. This is halfway through the second season now. The second season, I made a short 10-race season, though, this time around, because otherwise it would take far too much time to simulate through every single race, DNFing myself at every single race. But I thought it would still give us a good chance to be fired, because there's still a contract negotiation at the end of each short season. So I hope we could still maybe try and see what would happen if we kept on getting fired and pushing the game and, you know, telling it that we're this bad, what's going to happen, do something with us. And Ferrari, yet again, in the second season, win again. 2 times in a row for Binotto, Ferrari, and Charles Leclerc. So, Ferrari fans out there, you got to thank me here, because I'm showing you something that is never going to happen in a long while, for a good 2 seasons here. So, soak it in while you can. But for us, we move on then. We've jumped ahead of time, like to the end of Season 2. The last race is the Brazilian Grand Prix. You can see we're now only about a quarter of the bar filled on Acclaim Level 1. So I have a big hunch we may be pushed back to Williams, I would say, because if the only team we're able to sign for was Alfa Romeo from Williams when we had level Acclaim 1 at about 2/3 of the bar. So I would assume at 1/4 of the bar, the only way is down to Williams. But I don't know. So we're going to see about that. But by the time we crash out of the Brazilian Grand Prix and we lose our rivalry to Daniel Ricciardo, our Acclaim now has actually gone down to 0. Like, it says level 1, but we're 0. We're the lowest you can get on Acclaim level ever. We're pretty much we're worse than probably the F2 drivers in the driver market, if I'm being honest. But despite all of that, somehow the game doesn't fire me. So last year's little funny foible was, no matter how bad I did and how many times I got fired, people just forgot that I was that bad and they would sign me and then fire me again. This year, it seems they forget how bad I am and just keep me on. They don't even fire me. They just do the forgetting earlier in the process and just keep me on. So I don't know what that's about. So once again, we're met with this screen where I can technically renegotiate with other teams. So I just thought I'd go for it again. Let's try and get Ferrari. Let's go through all the teams again and see how many of them reject me, and probably inevitably have to sign for Williams in the end. I go and click Ferrari, approaching team there, and they say declined. That was to be expected, to be fair. So I click A to go back, and I thought I was going to be sent back to that screen. No, it just cuts to black, and I don't know what's going on here. I thought, okay, am I going to get a cutscene now to be fired? And it loads me back in, and I'm magically at Williams. I had no say in the matter. I'm just back at Williams. So what I think has occurred in this instance is I did actually technically get fired from Alfa Romeo, and you can pretend like they played this cutscene essentially, because I think what just happened was they just don't want to replay this cutscene over and over again like they used to in F1 2019. So that's what that kind of loading into black was. I just basically failed to renegotiate with Ferrari because I was such a bad driver. I only had one chance to renegotiate with one team, and because I failed at that, I just got fired from Alfa Romeo, and they stuck me with Williams. I think that's what's happened here, or the mechanic is insinuating at this point. So we end this season off, and again we're met with that same scene where Emma's telling us about how poor we did and how we need to buck up. So that's, I guess this is the new kind of fired cutscene, if you will.
I think seeing as it's the end of the season, now's a good time to talk about your less than ideal record this year. My job is to negotiate on your behalf, but you're not giving me much to work with here. Plus, this isn't exactly doing my career any good, so I need to shape up, for both our sakes.
So life goes on then. Season 3, here we are, where we go all the way back down to 0 acclaim, basically, and we end off this season, even though we were with Alfa Romeo, remember, in that season 2, but we obviously end it off having signed back for Williams, or we got charity off them, essentially, and they signed us, basically, but we continue to DNF ourselves in Season 3. I thought I'd kind of show you this clip, quite funny enough, because whilst I DNF'd myself out of this one, I, funny enough, just crashed right in front of a Ferrari man doing a bit of work there, but I thought, you know what, this man, he doesn't know it yet, but I am actually going to be signing, or trying to sign for Ferrari. And this man doesn't know that he's just witnessed in front of his eyes the man who's going to try and come to his team and crash. Because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through this season, and I assume what's going to happen is, again, I'm not going to get the choice of, like, you know, I'm not going to get a cutscene of being fired. But what I think I could do is, now, obviously, I tried to sign for Ferrari when I was being, you know, when I wanted to leave Alfa Romeo. And the only reason I couldn't sign for Ferrari was because the acclaim level wasn't high enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to DNF all this season, just be horrendous, but I'm just going to test it a little bit and test how the acclaim system works in this game. And I'm going to basically use the same way I boosted myself for the other experiments with, you know, like 100 million, you know, R&D and whatnot. And I'm going to give myself 25, the max acclaim level you can get. And I'm going to see if I can maybe finesse my way into Ferrari and then get fired again from them and see what occurs and how that works, essentially. So we go through a whole third season, DNFing along the way. The acclaim is 0, very, very low. It was actually, ironically, it was actually, it went up to level 2 halfway through the season somehow, and then I went back down. So it's almost like the game was trying to force me to do better and wanted me to sign for someone better, but then in the last minute, in the last race, I just dashed any hope of that because I crashed out and it went back down to 0. But before then, it was actually above acclaim level 2 for some reason. I don't know how, but we come through then to the end of Season 3. You can see my acclaim level is 0, but we're going to now fade out and fade back in, and magically we have now acclaim level 25. So somehow we've DNF'd for 3 seasons in a row. We have not finished a single race in our Formula 1 career, but we can renegotiate with teams, and we've got this acclaim level. So we're going to try approach Ferrari again this time. And this time, we're declined because they can't afford me this time. What? So, apparently, in this game, I didn't know this, I didn't really clock this, but I think the salary basically gets scaled up with the acclaim level because it's at 25 million for 25 acclaim level, so they can't afford us. Ferrari, I don't know how they can't afford us, because they're Ferrari, unless the AI's been so bad at managing their money in the background, but I can't sign for Ferrari, so I'm stuck in this moment again, where I click A, and I only have one attempt. It looks like, in this game, once you get fired once, you're on thin ice, like, you only get one chance to renegotiate with one team, so you can never get, well, you technically have been fired again, because I've been fired from Williams, and somehow finessed my way into Racing Point. Makes no sense. I've done 3 seasons, all DNFs. This last one, I DNF'd, I got like acclaim level 25 somehow, then I got fired from Williams, and then I got a job at Racing Point. They're like, yeah, you know what, acclaim level 25, but let's forget about the DNFs, and so I'm alongside Zoo, and then the game finesses me, and the game clearly doesn't like the fact I've made myself level 25, because it pushes me down to acclaim level 17 when I'm in Racing Point, so very, very odd. I feel like this would be the pattern now. If I kept doing this, I could continue doing this forever now. Basically, I get to the end of the season, I technically should be fired, but they let me try and renegotiate. But if I try and renegotiate with any team, most of them, if not every team, apart from maybe Williams or Alfa Romeo or Haas, might accept me, but most of them will decline me, and then I'll be forced into this black screen, and I'll fade back in with a new team. So essentially, you'll get fired, but you just won't get the cutscene. So, like F1 2019, how many times can you get fired in the career mode? Probably a million times over, infinite times. Just on this year's game, looks like they streamlined it by not showing you the cutscene. And also, I don't know what would happen if you legit tried this over a full 22 race calendar with 2 contract negotiations per season. Maybe you would get the cutscene every single time. But that has been this experiment. Obviously, very much like last year, we've come to like a point of, you know, we could keep doing this forever, basically. So I may as well stop now. So if you guys did enjoy the video, then be sure to hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. I personally thought it wasn't as comical as last year, but it was also a bit more realistic in a way, I guess, because obviously the contract system is more realistic. So kind of was to be expected in a way, these kind of results, I guess. Let me know your thoughts about that. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been aarava. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.